We got you guys. Nosferatu Explained. You didn't ask for it, but we are offering it. This is a great movie, and we can't wait to deep dive into what the heck it was about. We are going to keep this nice and short for you, give you exactly what you need to know. But I'm your host, Eric West. This is Vouch for Me, and with me I have PapaNasty.
Hey.
And Ablehalm.
Hello there.
And guys, what the fuck? Do you guys feel like there was anything in this movie that you didn't understand? This is going to be spoilers, so just heads up real quick. Nosferatu was based off of a 1922 film where they ripped off the original Bram Stoker Dracula. It was the first time that one of the first times they depicted vampires in film, but not the first time. I think it was the first time, actually. Something like that.
I think it's the first time because vampires in media were a relatively new thing at the time.
Yep, there it is. Because Dracula was not the first time vampires were being depicted in literature.
Media.
Yeah. It was something prior you had referenced.
Carmilla.
There it is. So that's where Nosferatu came from. He's a fucking ripoff of another character. So if you guys were wondering. But they did do something fun with it because I don't remember the true origin of Dracula himself. But Nosferatu actually took a much more occult nature. He had an occult origin story. So here are some spoilers first and foremost. Count Orlok would have been the creation of Belial, who...
Belial.
There. Thank you very much. Thank you for the correction, Abel. I've just been reading this on Wikipedia, so thank you. So he's a satanic archdemon who comes from like Old Testament Hebrew Bible, so more to do with like, how do I say, Judaism?
More or less, yeah.
Yeah. He's basically the garbage demon, right?
Hebrew mythology, whatever, Christo-Judeo mythology.
Yeah. He's the trash raccoon demon, basically. He's the harbinger of pestilence and the Black Death, which is why Nosferatu is the harbinger of such things. Okay, well, where the heck did Nosferatu even come from? Of course, there is speculation here, and I think PapaNasty, you had like some interesting things about him.
Yeah, he's either would be the son of the demon trash king of what's his face, or he would be a like sorcerer that made a deal with him because Nosferatu is said to possibly be 300 to 400 years old, is what I believe.
Yeah, some of this is speculation because they didn't have it fully fleshed out in the original script, but there is plenty of it where they did draw on certain inspirations, and there are inspirations of the occult, which is like where we get this information.
And also, I imagine back then having movie lore that deep was probably not a big deal. They just made up as it went along.
Imagine in-depth movie lore for a silent film. That is
wild. Dude,
what's the point?
We'll go watch Charlie Chaplin's The Great Dictator or something, and we'll have like a long Wikipedia article on his character's like rise into politics.
Yeah.
So the difference between like Nosferatu and Dracula is that Nosferatu is more demonic, whereas Dracula is more vampiric. Dracula is supposed to be more handsome and charming, whereas Nosferatu is more ugly and evil, or more, ugly and like, creeping at night, whereas Dracula is more upright. Nosferatu can't go out into the daylight. Dracula can be out in daylight, but he has, it's like, it lowers his vampire skills.
It lowers his libido, that's what you're trying to say. Yeah. I completely understand.
Gives him a little ED,
Dracula basically looks like some dude who happens to be a vampire. Nosferatu is a straight up monster.
Yeah, he's a handsome dude, and Nosferatu looks like,
he looks like Peter Pettigrew after he after he fucking gave up Harry's parents to Voldemort. So
he turned into a little rat.
Looks like me during those late night like snacks when I'm like in the kitchen just fucking raiding the fridge, and Mom and Ashley's like, someone's in the house, and it's me just fucking eating pizza rolls and
heavy
drinking
breathing sounds and slurping sounds.
He looks like Chuck E. Cheese's foreign grandpa from the old country. Right.
Like, what
Okay.
And also, random fun fact to put out there, didn't they, like, somebody from the working on the film, like, thank SpongeBob for keeping Nosferatu well known in the public mind?
Yes. Even Robert Eggers during an interview said, quote unquote, thanks SpongeBob. And it was for...
Oh, yeah, it was Robert Eggers.
Give a little shout out. That was so cool.
But we'll talk more about that on the extended pod, which you guys can learn about later.
I'm excited, Eric.
In the meantime, we're going to continue talking about the explanation of this movie. And so at the beginning of this movie, I was actually confused originally. And that was when she was praying to something. I didn't quite understand what was going on, but now I understand. Did you guys fully understand it when you first saw that scene?
Yeah, she explained it. She explained it later.
Yeah, but I didn't understand it for a while. So if you want to help the audience, because it's still a confusing scene.
Explain it, Abel, goddammit.
Yeah, Abel, she explained it so fucking well. Let's hear about it then.
Basically, in her loneliness and melancholy, she did what any lonely girl did and just started like practicing black magic and accidentally summoned Count Orlok. And now he's come years later to like, hey, it's time for you to pay back your debt. You summoned me, you promised yourself to me, and so you have to annul your marriage to your hoe-ass boyfriend, and you're with me now. And she's like, no, I didn't mean it. It was like, it doesn't matter what you meant, it's what you said.
Goddamn teenagers, you know? You know what I'm saying? Get in trouble.
Not the first time that happened to PapaNasty. Won't be the last. Okay, but anyways.
Whoa.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
19.
But that does pretty much explain it all, and that's really where the story goes, is at this point, then the rest of the plot is basically orchestrated by Count Orlok, who is Nosferatu.
Who is Dracula?
Who is Dracula?
Who is Dracula?
Who was, yeah.
Yeah, Vlad the Impaler.
Who is Vlad the Impaler? Thank you. You got it.
Yeah, no, he was based on a actual historical figure who was not a vampire, just a really bloodthirsty psycho son of a bitch.
Big spoiler alert. Biggest spoiler alert. Why did she have to die in the end?
She had to distract him long enough to keep him up till sunrise.
Yeah, but it was already sunrise though when she was like when she did that, like he was gonna get off her and leave, but it's like he already would have died if he would have fucking left. So that was one of those things I'm like, but you know.
So I was kind of like thinking about it as I left. So Van Helsing, because I can't really remember their actual names in the movie, so I'm gonna go by their Dracula names. So Van Helsing basically said like, she is the key to all this. The Grimoire says that the only way to really undo this is she has to offer herself back up to him. That's the only way to get him to lower his guard and stay out long enough that he's going to forget what fucking time it is. Because normally he would just retreat back to his coffin with time to spare.
Yeah, dude, pussy was so good, he fucking... wait a minute.
Yeah, he looked at the clock and he realized he was supposed to be on the train home at like 5 a.m. and it's 5:30.
Nosferatu got that dog in him, you know what I'm saying? Like, goddamn.
Okay, yes. Also, we can talk more about this in the extended pod, but she was sleepwalking the entire time. To alleviate her sleepwalking, they bloodlet her, which is something they were talking about. So I speculate if they never bloodlet her, she could have survived the final suck at the end.
Yep.
Yeah, I was reading up basically that it seemed like in her emaciated state, fucking Nosferatu feeding on her was probably enough to kill her, whereas like he had fed on Thomas multiple times and Thomas was fine.
Yep. And now finally, guys, what the heck was up with the book? That's the very last thing I want to disclose before we end this. You mentioned grimoire, and I believe that is what it is it's an occult grimoire.
Yeah, it's funny how like they had like a whole ass like it gives the implication that Orlok is not the first of his kind, but he's the only one that Van Helsing has like seen manifested in reality. It's like, I've only heard stories of a Nosferatu, but like to see him actually here.
Yeah, exactly. This grimoire is very likely based off of ancient German magic, possibly something from like Goetic magicians, which I don't know how to use that word properly, but you guys can go ahead and look it up. One of the, not the director, but the producer, Grau, he actually was he was an occult member to Fraternitas Saturni, and basically they practice alchemy, they practice the occult, and it was disbanded because of the Nazis later down the line. But he was in deep, guys.
Well, even the director, something I wanted to say earlier, the director had some ties to another cult. So it's like, whoa, apparently there's a lot of cults popping off back in the day before fucking social media. Is like, that was the thing to be a part of.
Cults have always existed. Some of them still exist.
And if this wasn't a good enough explanation, guys, we will be diving into a full-length discussion of the film. So thank you so much for watching, and hop on over, give us a like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you in the next one. Farewell.
Bam.
See you.